Good morning, boys and girls. I hope this is working because I'm not seeing what you're seeing. Today, I reversed it so I could try out a few new tricks. But hopefully everything will work out just fine. We had a wonderful storm yesterday, and it took me a long time to get to a place where I would be safe, but I very carefully made it here and camped for the night, and now the storm's gone and everybody's cleaning up afterward. So there's a lot of noise, and everybody seems to be fine. There's a few trees that are broken. You know, I've been wanting to tell you a story called The Master Thief for a while, and I think this morning will be a good day to do that. So how about if we start with a song, just in case Gunnyson's here and wants to hear one. Let's do Wheels on the Bus. 1, 2, 3. So, the reason I like to tell the story of Master Thief is because I think that I was in this story. Indeed. It was kind of an interesting thing that happened to me one day. I was heading to go busk, that's play music and for tips out on the streets of the city. And I was on my bicycle. I'd been camping in the forest, and I got on my bicycle and I left the Vardo behind, and I pedaled down into the city and I parked there. It's so much easier to park on a bicycle than it is to park in a car or a Vardo. I mean, Vardos are nice to have with you, but sometimes it's easier to get in and out of a place if you don't have to have a car with you. So I got on my bicycle and I'm pedaling on down to the city, and I go under this bridge. So there's a highway up above, and as I'm going under the bridge, I see a brand new boot. This boot, but it was brand new. I saw this boot sitting under the bridge. It was brand new. I could see that no one had ever worn it before. And it was kind of strange to see one boot. I said, oh my goodness, that even looks like my size, but it doesn't really matter because one boot reminds me of a story. The story of the Master Thief. And so I left that boot behind and I pedaled on down the road, and I went a little bit further, and not even a mile down the road, what do I see? But the other boot. A boot just like the last boot. And I said, I wonder, that looks like a new boot, like the last boot. Maybe it's the left boot to the right boot, and then the boots that would be a nice pair of boots. But maybe somebody lost them, so I'll just leave them there for now, and I'll check on them later. It's just what I did. I went down and I busked all day, and just before it got dark, I headed on back. I wanted to make sure I got back to my camp before dark, and I'm pedaling up the road, and when I got to the place where that second boot had been, there was the second boot, and I said to myself, that is just like the story of the Master Thief. But I fooled him. So I picked up the second boot, and I put it on my bicycle, and I strapped it on in place, and then I went on under the bridge, and there was the second boot still waiting there. So I picked that up and I put it with the first boot, and I went back to my campsite, and I had a friend stop by, and of course I told them the story of the Master Thief, which is just what I would like to tell you right now. Meanwhile, the boots were exactly my size. They had never been worn. I have no idea who lost them. If you were the person that lost them and you want to let me know, I'll try to make good on that for you. They're beautiful boots, and I've loved wearing them. They're perfect for when I go snowshoeing in the wintertime, and any other job that I need boots for, because, you know, bare feet that's not a good thing to be wearing if the world is a dangerous place like sharp rocks or glass or stuff like that. Anyway, have a good pair of boots. And now, another Joseph Jacobs story. It's called The Master Thief. And you know how it starts. Oh, what, 1 second. I don't know who that was, but we don't want to listen to people right now. I thought I turned that phone off earlier. Oh, good thing I heard that before I got started. Are you ready? Once upon a time. And it was a long, long time ago, far, far away. There was a boy named Will. He lived with his dad. His dad was a farmer. And they lived in a little village. And it wasn't a lot of work on the farm. His dad took care of it all mostly. And Will said, "Hey, Dad, you know, I think maybe I should go off in the world and see if I can learn a trade." His dad said, "Well, Will, that would be a good thing to do because otherwise you'll just sit here and be a farmer all the time, and you know, there's no money in farming." Well, that was true for a long time. Farming had nothing to do with money. But Will went off to learn a trade. And he just put his stuff together. He didn't have too much. Put it in a little bit of rag, and he tied it in a bundle at the top, and he put that on a stick, and he put the stick over his shoulder, and he's walking down the road. And he'd been walking for a couple of days, hadn't found any job or anything, and why, some men jumped out in the middle of the road, and they said, "Your wallet or your life?" So Will wanted his life. He didn't really care about his wallet, so he hands it over. The thieves open up the wallet, it's empty. They say, "What the heck kind of wallet is this? You got no money." Will said, "Yes, I'm off trying to find a trade, but that's an easy way to make money. You just jump out in the middle of the road and say your wallet or your life, and people give you money. Is that what really happens?" And the thief says, "Yeah, all the time. It's quite the life, if you don't get caught." "Well," says Will, I think I'd like to learn that trade." They said, "Well, you think you could be a thief?" He said, "It didn't look hard." They said, "Well, you have to prove yourself to us. I tell you what, the next guy that comes by, you get his wallet and we'll let you be a thief." So Will says, "Okay, then you guys go hide in the woods and don't come out until after he's gone." And so the robbers, they hid in the woods. And Will, he hid in the bushes right beside the road. And the next guy that comes walking along, Will jumps out and he yells, "Your money or your life!" And the man was so afraid, he took out his wallet and he handed it to Will. Will says, "Wait." He opens up the wallet, dumps out the money, gives the money back to the man and says, "Carry on, I just wanted the wallet." Well, the man was quite surprised, but he ran off. And Will, he took the wallet over to the thieves. The thieves took the wallet and they said, "Hey, where's all the money?" And Will said, "Well, you didn't ask for the money. You just said I needed to get his wallet." They said, "What? That's ridiculous. That's not very good at all." Will said, "Well, you only asked for the wallet. What did you want?" They said, "Well, you gotta make some money at it." Well, Will said, "Well, maybe I do and maybe I don't, but we'll see what there is to see. I tell you what, do you see those farmers coming up the road?" And the thieves said, "Yeah." Will said, "I bet I can trick them out of all those cows without a fight." The thief said, "No way! Those farmers won't give up the cows without a fight." Will said, "I bet they will." And so the thief said, "Well then, if you can steal all those cows from those farmers without a fight, why, you'll be a master thief." And Will liked that idea. A master thief, he thought. I would like to be a master thief. And so Will said, "You watch." And the robbers stayed in their hideout where they could watch the road. And Will, he ran down to a spot in the road ahead of where the farmers were. And he climbed up in a tree and he took a rope. and he tied the rope in such a way that when he slipped out of the tree, it looked like he was hanging by his neck. And it looked like he had been hung as a thief and was dead. And Will just hung there as the farmers came up the road. Now one farmer looked up and saw him hanging from the tree, and he turned to the other farmer and he said, one of the thieves that have been hanging out on this road. Ha ha! Good for him, they hung him. And a warning to all the other thieves, we won't let that happen around here. And the second farmer said, that's right, and we have our big clubs. If they try to come steal from us, we'll beat them up. And the first farmer said, that's right. And they walked on. And as soon as they were out of sight, Will, he unties himself and climbs down from the tree, and carrying the rope, he runs to another spot further up the road, close to a mile up the road, and then he climbs up another tree and fakes hanging himself again. And he's hanging there. When about 15 minutes later, up come the farmers and the cows. And they're walking along, and the first farmer points to Will hanging up in the tree. Points, look, it's the same thief. And the second farmer said, well, it can't be the same thief, silly. We left him back a mile down the road. But the first farmer, he said, oh, no, I'm pretty sure that's the same thief. Look, he's got the same beard, and he's got the same button on his shirt. Well, the second farmer said, that's just ridiculous. A man can't be hanging in two places at once. And the first farmer said, well, I'm sure it's him. You mark him, and then we'll just take a quick run back. Just leave the cows here. We'll take a quick run back and see him. It won't take us very long. And so the two farmers stared at Will until they were sure they knew what he looked like, and then they ran back down the road to look at the other guy hanging on the tree. And as soon as they were around the corner, Will, he drove those cows up to the hideout of the thieves, and the robbers were quite excited. And they made Will their captain, and Will stayed in the forest, and he did his master thieving for years, until he was so rich. He was richer than anyone around. And one day he decided he wanted to stop being a master thief and go home. That's what he did. He bought himself a beautiful coach and a team of horses to pull it. And he dressed in the finest clothes, and he piled all of his gold in the coach and drove on back home. Now when he got to his father's house, his father came out to greet him, thinking he was some rich gentleman that might need something. And Will, he just played along. Oh, my good farmer, what a nice place you have. The farmer says, thank you, my lord. And Will says, and do you live here alone, or do you have any children? The farmer said, I live here alone, my lord. I once had a son named Will. I don't know what happened to him. He left here years ago. And Will says, and do you remember what he looks like? And the farmer says, why, I certainly do. He's my son. And Will says, then why don't you recognize me? And the farmer looked, and he realized it was his son he was talking to. He said, oh my goodness, Will, how did you get so rich? And Will says, well, I got a trade. And his father said, what a wonderful trade to provide you with so much money. And Will said, yes, I'm a master thief. And his father said, oh, a master thief? Don't let anyone know that. Why, they'll hang you. Will says, oh, they won't hang me. I'm a master thief. His father says, well, I don't think the Lord around here will mind whether you're a master thief or a regular thief. He just hangs thieves. And Will says, we won't tell him. You just tell everybody that I became an explorer and got rich that way. Well, the father thought that was a grand plan, but when he went to the tavern that night, he had a few too many beers and got a little bit tipsy. Not a really smart thing to do if you want to keep a secret. Next thing you know, he's telling his friends, my son, he is a great tradesman indeed. I've been telling you all that he's an explorer, but really, he's a master thief. Don't tell anyone. Of course, his friends couldn't help themselves, and pretty soon everybody knew that Will was a master thief. And when the Lord heard about that, why, he was not happy. And he came down to see Will. I hear you're a master thief. That's illegal in my land, and you are going to have to be hanged. Will said, No, you have this wrong, Lord. Not only am I a master thief, but I'm going to marry your daughter. The Lord said, What? No thief is going to marry my daughter. And Will said, Well, Lord, I'm not a thief. Well, the Lord said, Everybody says you're a thief. No, Lord. They say I'm a master thief. Well, what difference does it make if you're a master thief or not? Well, Lord, a master thief doesn't just go stealing stuff. That's why you don't need to hang him. Why? A master thief could steal anything he wanted. And now you know that I haven't been stealing because the things aren't all gone. Oh, Lord, he scratched his head and he said, I don't understand all this master thief stuff. Let me just, are you saying you could get anything without getting caught? That's right, Lord. Well, I tell you what, my horse in the barn, if you can get my horse out of the barn, then I might call you a master thief, but, if you try, you're more likely to be shot. And Will said, Well, Lord, tomorrow I'll be here for breakfast. Come by for your horse. The Lord said, What? You go ahead and try that. You will not live till morning. But that night, Will disguised himself as an old woman. And he got some special ingredients to put inside a little bottle of wine. And he had 2 bottles of wine. And the one that he put the special ingredients in, he put a little mark on it so he would know the difference. And then he put those 2 bottles in his pocket and made his way over to the Lord's barn. Now, it was getting dark, and the Lord did not want his horse stolen. So he got the stable boy and he said, Saddle up the horse, tie it twice to the rails, then you sit on the saddle all night and do not let that master thief get my horse. And the stable boy said, Your wish is my command, Lord. And the stable boy, he put the saddle on the horse, he tied the horse in 2 different places, and then hopped on. And he sat there, and he sat there, and he sat there for a very long time until finally this little old woman comes wandering by. Please, sir, please, could you give me a place to rest in the night? I'm so tired. Well, the stable boy, his heart went out to the old woman. He said, Oh, you can rest in that pile of hay right there. And so Will, dressed as the old woman, went over to the pile of hay and sat down. And then she reached down and pulled out a bottle of wine and started drinking. Glug, 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 glug. Glug, 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 glug. The stable boy had been sitting on that horse for quite a while, and he was kind of thirsty. He said, How much wine do you have there, woman? And the old woman said, Oh, I have plenty. Would you like some? And she handed him the bottle with the special ingredients. Do you know what that was? A sleeping powder. And when the groom took the bottle of wine and had a sip, the sleeping powder put him to sleep, and he was sitting on the horse. Will brought him down off the horse, set him in the haystack, unsaddled the horse, put it on the rail, picked up the groom, put him back on the saddle, and took the horse, untied it, and rode it off. And the next morning the Lord found Will with his horse. Well, that was a good trick, but I'll catch you next time I want you to steal the sheets off my bed while my wife is in it. Well, Will said, that's easy as pie. And the Lord said, well, I'll have my gun ready if you show up. I'm shooting you. Will said, you're welcome to try. And that night, when the Lord and his lady went to bed, Will got a ladder and a dummy, and he dressed the dummy up in his clothes, and he tied the dummy to the ladder. And then he brought the ladder over to the Lord's bedroom window, and he put the ladder up there with the dummy at the top of it. And the Lord sees the dummy all dressed up like Will and thinks he's got the master thief now. So he lowers his gun and fires. Bang! And Will knocks over the ladder. Well, the Lord wants to run down and see if he shot Will or not. And as he's running down the stairs, Will's coming in the back door and up the back stairs. And he runs into the Lord's bedroom where he yells in the Lord's voice, quick, give me the bed sheets. I shot that rascal and now I want to wrap him up. And so his wife gave him the bed sheets. Right off the bed she was in. And Will, he slips out the back door, and what does the Lord find when he gets back to his room but his bed sheet stolen by the master thief? Oh, he's really angry when Will shows up at the door the next morning. Will didn't understand it at all. What are you so upset about? You asked me to steal your sheets, and so I did. The Lord said, well, I know somebody you can't trick. That traitor who comes here every other day. He'll be here tomorrow on his mule. If you can steal the mule from underneath him, well then, I'll know you're a master thief, and you can marry my daughter. But if you can't, he'll take care of you himself. Well, that traitor had a nasty reputation. Will knew about him. In fact, none of Will's the robber friends would stop him at all. They just let him go right by because, oh, he was a terrible, terrible person to attack. Now, he carried 2 guns and several knives, as well as a hatchet and a sword. So nobody messed with him. Of course, Will had a plan. And the next day, he was down at the road early, and he took off one of his fancy gentleman boots and set it down beside the road. He took off his other boot too, but he didn't set that down. He went up the road for about a half a mile, and I suppose you know what he's going to do here, right? Yeah. He sets the boot down there. Then, as quick as he can, he goes back down the road and hides in a bush nearby the first boot. Well, it's not long at all before the trader's riding up the road in his mule with a string of mules behind him, all loaded up with baggage and wonderful things to sell. And as he's riding down the road, he sees that fancy boot that Will had left there, and he looks down and says, oh my goodness, a gentleman's boot. In fact, it looks to be my size, but what good is one boot? You can't wear one boot on one foot and a different boot on the other. So he rides right by. And no sooner does his train go that mile or so that Will had led him when he sees another boot just like the first sitting on the side of the road, and he says, why, there's the second boot. If I had picked up the first boot now, I would have a fine set of boots. Well, I'll just leave my things here, run back and get that one. So he ties his mule off on the side of the road, and he runs back the mile back to find the boot. But you know what had happened? Will had come out of that bush. Soon after the last animal had gone by, he picked up his boot and through the bushes went back up to the beginning. Well, when he came to the front of the line, there was the trader getting off his mule and running back down the road to get that other boot, leaving behind his mule and the whole train of goods. So Willie picks up the second boot, puts them back on his feet, hops on the mule, and drives that train right down to the Lord's castle. Comes into the courtyard on the trader's mule with all the trader's goods. And once he comes in, he says to the Lord, well, Now you see, I've taken the trader's good and his mule, which is all you asked for, but you'll have to give it back to him. Meanwhile, I have something that you want to give to me, isn't there? And the Lord said, well, I see that you're not a dishonest man, But even though you call yourself a master thief, you've given back everything you've taken, and you certainly hurt no one in the meantime, so, all right, I tell you what, you can marry my daughter. And that's how Will, the master thief, became lord of the land. And that's the story of the master thief. And how I got my boots. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll do one more song for you. Hopefully this whole thing came out, because I really didn't see any of the production. And you have enjoyed that story. There's a little twinkle twinkle for you. And if you want to be a master thief like Will, you better remember he didn't keep any of the things that he took. He was really just a trickster, not a thief. Meanwhile, I have to go. You have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Au revoir.